Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Before continuing, please review the legal disclaimer provided in the comments section of this video, and make sure to see the video till the end to get a full understanding of how it all works. On this channel, we share practical guidance on visa processes, immigration pathways, investment and citizenship options, and related topics to help you make informed decisions. If you are unsure about your visa options or planning your next step, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you stay updated with the latest developments. Hashtag Vanuatu Tourist Visa Process. Explained in 2026. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is booking a flight to a place they've barely heard about before. A place with turquoise water, quiet beaches, volcanic landscapes, and one of the most relaxed entry systems in the Pacific. That place is Vanuatu. But before that dream trip becomes reality, there is one thing every traveler needs to understand clearly: the tourist visa process. And here is the surprising part. For many travelers, Vanuatu is one of the easiest countries in the world to enter. But easy does not mean no rules. And if you don't understand the system properly, you can still face delays, denial at the border, or even travel disruption. So in this full deep dive, we are breaking down everything you need to know about the Vanuatu tourist visa process in 2026. Step by step, simple language, real expectations, no confusion, and stay until the end because there is a hidden detail most travelers only discover at the airport. Let's begin. First, you need to understand the core idea. Vanuatu does not operate like highly complicated visa systems in many larger countries. Instead, it follows a simplified tourism entry framework designed to support short-term visitors. Most travelers either receive visa-free entry or obtain a visa on arrival, depending on their nationality. And this is where most of the confusion starts, because people assume there is a long application process. But for many nationalities, there is no advanced paperwork needed at all. You simply arrive and immigration processes your entry at the airport. Now let's break down the main tourist visa categories clearly. There are 3 key entry pathways. First, visa-free entry. Second, visa on arrival. Third, prearranged tourist visa for specific nationalities. Let's go deeper into each one. Visa-free entry is the simplest pathway. Many travelers from approved countries can enter Vanuatu without applying for a visa in advance. When they arrive, immigration officers simply check basic documents and grant entry. But even in visa-free entry, there are strict conditions. You must have a valid passport with at least 6 months validity beyond your stay. You must have a return or onward ticket. You must be able to show proof of accommodation. And you must demonstrate that you can financially support yourself during your stay. If any of these are missing, entry can be denied even if you are from a visa-free country. Now let's move to visa on arrival. This is where things become slightly more formal, but still very simple. For eligible travelers, a tourist visa is issued upon arrival at the airport in Vanuatu, usually at Port Vila, or other designated entry points. Immigration officers will review your documents, ask basic questions about your stay, and then issue the visa. This visa typically allows a stay of up to 30 days initially for most visitor categories, with extensions possible in some cases depending on approval. And this is where many travelers make their first mistake. They assume they can stay as long as they want once they enter, but that is not how it works. The standard tourist stay is time-limited and controlled. Now let's talk about the third category, pre-arranged tourist visa. This applies mainly to travelers from countries that are not eligible for visa-free or simple visa on arrival processing. In these cases, approval must be obtained before travel. The process involves submitting an application with documents such as passport details, travel plans, accommodation proof, and financial capacity evidence. Once approved, the visa is issued before departure. Now let's talk about something extremely important: passport validity. This is one of the most common reasons travelers face issues. Your passport must generally be valid for at least 6 months beyond your date of entry, not your return date, your entry date. If your passport is close to expiry, you can be denied boarding before even reaching Vanuatu. Now let's move into required documents. Even though the system is simple, documentation still matters. At minimum, most travelers should be prepared with a valid passport, a return or onward flight ticket, proof of accommodation, such as hotel booking or host details, proof of financial means, such as bank balance or access to funds, and sometimes a completed arrival card during entry. These are basic requirements, but they are taken seriously by immigration officers. Now let's talk about duration of stay, because this is where things become very important. Tourist stays are typically short-term, with many visitors allowed up to around 30 days initially, depending on their entry category. Some travelers may be granted longer stays, potentially extending up to several months, depending on approval conditions. But here's the critical rule. You must leave before your permitted stay expires. Overstaying is not taken lightly and can lead to penalties or restrictions for future visits. Now let's talk about extensions. In some cases, visitors may apply for an extension if they wish to stay longer, but extensions are not guaranteed. They depend on approval from immigration authorities and must be applied for before the current visa or entry period expires. Now here comes something most people do not expect. Entry is not just about documents, it is also about intent. Immigration officers are trained to assess whether you are a genuine tourist. This means they may look for signs such as clear travel plans, reasonable length of stay, confirmed accommodation, return travel arrangements, and general consistency in your answers. If something does not seem aligned, additional questions may be asked. Now let's talk about arrival experience. This is one of the most underrated parts of traveling to Vanuatu. Most travelers report a relatively smooth and friendly airport experience. Immigration officers are used to tourism traffic and often process entries efficiently. However, peak arrival times can create queues, especially when flights arrive from major regional hubs, so patience is important. Now let's talk about restrictions that many people overlook. A tourist visa in Vanuatu is strictly for tourism purposes. That means no employment allowed, no business activity allowed, no commercial work allowed, no long-term residence intention allowed under tourist status. If you want to work or run a business, different visa categories are required. Now let's address one of the most important practical questions. What happens if you arrive unprepared? If you do not have a return ticket, immigration may refuse entry. If you cannot show accommodation details, you may be questioned more heavily. If your financial capacity seems unclear, you may be asked for further proof. And in some cases, entry can be denied on the spot. This is why preparation matters even for simple destinations. Now let's talk about the real travel mindset. Vanuatu is not a high-pressure immigration environment, but it is still a sovereign border system, and every country protects its entry rules carefully. So the goal is not to overcomplicate things. The goal is to be prepared and consistent. Now let's shift into something important for modern travelers: digital travel preparation. Today, most travelers no longer carry paper files only. They store documents on phones, cloud storage, and email. And this is completely acceptable in most cases as long as documents are accessible and readable. However, having backups is always wise, because internet access or battery issues can create unnecessary stress at arrival. Now let's talk about family travel. Traveling with children requires extra attention. Each child must have their own passport, and all entry requirements still apply individually. If traveling as a family, immigration may also ask additional questions about accommodation and guardianship. Now let's talk about a common misunderstanding. Some travelers believe that once they enter Vanuatu, they can easily change their visa type, but in most cases, tourist status is fixed. It is not designed for conversion into work or long-term residency categories while inside the country, so planning ahead is essential. Now let's talk about safety and compliance mindset. This is not about fear. It's about smooth travel. Countries like Vanuatu rely heavily on tourism, so their systems are designed to welcome genuine visitors efficiently. but they also rely on clear compliance to maintain order and security. Now here is the big picture. The Vanuatu tourist visa process is designed to be simple, but simplicity only works when travelers meet the basic conditions: passport validity, return ticket, accommodation proof, clear intention, sufficient funds. If those are in place, the process is usually smooth and fast. Now let's end with the most important insight. Most travel problems are not caused by complex rules. They are caused by incomplete preparation. And when you understand the system properly, Vanuatu becomes one of the easiest and most enjoyable entry experiences in the Pacific. So whether you are planning a short island getaway, a relaxing escape, or a first-time visit to the South Pacific, the key is simple. Prepare well, travel light mentally, and enjoy one of the most naturally beautiful destinations in the world.